Hello, welcome to Tier Nerd. This time I will be tiering anime that start with the letter E and the letter F. So yeah, interesting fact. There are only two anime that I watched that start with the letter E, and Elfen Lied and Erased. Now, Erased Japanese name is I forget what it's, but it starts with the letter B. So if we're going by English titles, then Elfen Lied is actually the only anime I've watched that start with the letter E. So I was kind of surprised. But on the other hand, there are a lot of anime that start with the letter F. So, yep, so we'll begin. And some of these are very, very famous anime, actually. So, first we have Elfen Lied. So, I'm kind of, can't really decide on Elfen Lied if I want to give it like high B tier or the low A tier. It was a decent anime. I watched the first episode when I was a kid, and it kind of traumatized me. Like I couldn't sleep that night. I watched it at night, which is a very bad idea. That first episode is very gruesome and just not my cup of tea. So for many years, I never continued the anime. I just figured, forget it. Many years later, I did eventually watch it, all of it, and yeah, it gets better. That first episode was just a little intense. After that, it kind of tones down on the gore and everything. Um, but yeah, I did end up thinking it was a pretty decent anime, but although very depressing, very very depressing. Um, then we got Erased. Erased, I really liked. It's kind of different than the anime I generally watch, but I did enjoy it. So yeah, Erased was a decent anime, I think. Um, I mean, it is just a very interesting concept about him going back in time and trying to fix all the problems. He's trying to redo the past, you know and that'd be really cool. Going back in time and fixing all your mistakes and trying to live a different life. But unfortunately, that's not how the real world works. But in Erased, you get to see what happens. Someone did get the chance to redo some of their past mistakes. So I just thought it was a really interesting concept and just a very deep, thought provoking anime. Let's see. Then we have Fairy Tale. So Fairy Tale, I decided to split it up into three seasons. The original Fairy Tale, 175 episodes, then the next 102 episodes, I think. Then finally, we have the final season. And the reason I'm breaking it up into three is because the quality of the anime does change over time. So that's why I'm going to break it up into three. So first, we got the original Fairy Tale. I actually enjoyed it a lot. I think, I think I have a higher opinion of it than most people on my anime list. It's kind of average, but I actually thought Fairy Tail started off really good. Had lots of characters, just very interesting, very engaging, and it's kind of similar to Black Clover in that they both have the whole, they're both got a lot of magic, a lot of characters, the whole guild aspect. It's very similar, I would say, to Black Clover. And what I liked about Fairy Tail and Black Clover is that they don't generally pad the show with fillers, and they generally have a good pace to the anime, which is very rare for a long running anime. Which is probably why they had to take breaks because they actually kept a good pace, unlike Naruto and One Piece, for example. So Fairy Tail, I think, kind of maybe on the low A tier side for this first part. The second part was pretty cool too. Yeah, it was pretty solid. Like I think they're both kind of good. I enjoyed both of them. The first two seasons, last season just wasn't as good. Like the last 60, I forget the last season was like 50 episodes or something, but yeah, the last season just really went full on cringe. Um, just completely stopped paying attention to the power progression, which is a very common problem with a lot of anime, fantasy action anime, where they just completely disregard the growth of the characters and make just very unrealistic decisions about the plot. So yeah, so like basically, did this anime just like the last season just goes full on power of friendship, defeats all evil type, just cheesiness and nonsense and cringe. And it had its good moments. You had some really cool characters like Zeref and all that. Like it's cool, but it just kind of it kind of goes on full on cringe a little bit too much in the last season. So I just kind of lost its what's good about it. First two seasons fine, like I don't have any problem with it. Like it had a lot of stuff going on and it minimized the cringe, but last season just went full on. You know, it just wasn't as good anymore. Let's see. Then we have the Fate series. So I have three. I'm going to do them in order from when I watched them, because I have a lot to say here. So I decided. I know there's a lot of anime in the Fate franchise. I'm only going over the ones I've watched. I've watched Fate Zero, Fate Stay Night, and then Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works. I haven't watched any of the new movies like Heaven's Feel or anything like that, or any of the like offshoots like and I even forget what they're called. Basically, I haven't watched any of the others. Like maybe at some point I will. Like they're kind of interesting, but this is all I watched. So first of all, Fate Zero. Fate Zero is S tier. This is I watched it and I was like, this is amazing. And this was my introduction to the Fate franchise. This was the first one I watched. It was Fate Zero. And I thought like, wow, this is really cool. And I just thought that it's not perfect. There's no anime that's perfect, but it was. I thought it was really deep and dark, and like I really like the main character. Like Emi is, I think, one of my favorite main characters because he is just such a realistic main character. Like not the cheesy and Naruto or Luffy. This he's a real dude. Like this is a very realistic human character making real decisions, like and really tough decisions. So. Emi, yeah, so I thought Emi was a great character, probably one of my favorite main characters in any anime. In Fate Zero, not the Emiya from the other. Yeah, so I just really enjoyed the plot, with Emiya Kiritsugu and just like basically just the whole plot. Like the characters in here, they're like a lot of them are just jerks, basically. Very just selfish, and you can just see all sides fighting over the Holy Grail, and almost nobody there has a good purpose for it, but they all have their reasons for fighting. So I don't know. I just Fate Zero was just amazing. So this is both seasons put together. I'm giving it an S tier. Now, this was my introduction to the Fate series. So I thought, wow, it's great. So then I'm like, yeah, let's watch Fate Stay Night. Then I watched Fate Stay Night, and I'm like, what is this? Like, I don't know, like if I'd give it high C tier or low B tier, but I watched it and I think it's like normally I probably would have given it B tier, but it's just that after watching something as amazing as Fate Zero, to watch Fate Stay Night, I was like, what is this? Like Fate Stay Night was some generic shonen action anime compared to this epic Fate Zero. Like I said, Nick, normally I probably would have given it a B tier, but I think it's just because it was just such a stark contrast to in awesomeness that I was like, nah, Fate, it's like a C tier. And so yeah, it just kind of lost all of it. Like I think it's because it's older. Fate Stay Night came out first. Fate Zero was more recent. But yeah, Fate Stay Night it just seemed very it just was not nearly as good. Like you still have the Holy Grail War and everything, but the level of impact and depth and the storyline itself just was nowhere near as deep or as profound and epic as Fate Zero's. So it just pales in comparison. Like Fate Stay Night's like little kids fighting, whereas like Fate Zero was like grown adults. Like it's just such a big difference. Fate Stay Night just wasn't as good. So I thought I didn't watch anything for a while in the Fate series. Then recently I watched Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works, and this was a lot better. I do admit, Unlimited Blade Works, I think B tier or A tier. Like Fate's, I mean, it's still not as good as Fate Zero, but I think Unlimited Blade Works at least was just better. I think the storyline was more interesting, more mature. I think the plot went in a more interesting direction, and I hear that. I know that Fate Stay Night and Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works. They just they take different paths based on the visual novel, so that's why the storyline is different. And I think this path is more interesting, to be honest. So this is the better one. And I haven't watched Heaven's Feel. I hear that one's good too, but I just haven't watched it. But yeah, Unlimited Blade Works was decent, solid. I think it was a big improvement over the original Fate Stay Night. So I think, yeah, definitely, I'd say A tier. I think it's a solid anime. So that ends everything I watched in Fate Stay Night. I mean, in the Fate franchise. So now I have some Final Fantasies in here. And then I'll have Fullmetal Alchemist. So let's move this here. So first, let's go like in order how I watched it. So I watched some Final Fantasy movies. I know there's a lot more. I have not watched The Spirits Within. Maybe one day I will. I hear everyone says it's awful, but maybe one of these days I'll actually watch Final Fantasy Spirits Within. But these are the only three I've watched. I've watched Final Fantasy VII Advent Children a long time ago, like when it first came out. Then I watched FF15 Kingsglaive and FF15 Brotherhood. So Advent Children was decent. I don't know if it's fair to put it above Elfen Lied. I mean, I think I'll give it B tier. Like, um, yeah. I mean, I think it's because it's FF7, so we have naturally high expectations of how the plot is supposed to go, and FF7 Advent Children just seemed kind of generic. Like it was really cool. The fight scenes were really cool. The animation quality was really good. Like for the time, like if you think about when this came out a long time ago. Like I think I was in high school. Like this was more than like 12 years ago. Yeah, this is pretty old, and it looked really cool at the time. So the graphics and action and all that was good. Just the plot was just kind of like average. Like it was just kind of weird. So FF7 Advent Children, I think B tier, like just an average B tier, I think. Kingsglaive, I actually enjoyed Kingsglaive. Like, I didn't even know anything about Final Fantasy 15. I think I'll put it up here. Like, is it B tier? Is it A tier? Like, I actually thought it was a pretty solid movie, pretty mature, like better graphics and everything. Um, like, and I haven't really played much of FF15. I didn't really like the part. I played a little bit of FF15 and I thought it wasn't very good, but the storyline might actually be decent. So I watched Kingsglaive and I actually thought it was pretty solid, good. Brotherhood I probably liked a little bit less, but I still think it was. Yeah, I don't know. It was still solid. Like I think FF15 Brotherhood was still solid. So yeah, if you're interested in playing FF15, I hear like it's good to watch them just to get some background story. So I did watch them, and I thought it was good. You actually because if you just focus on the story, and FF15 story might actually be decent. It's just I think the gameplay is probably trash. But yeah, so I think they're still solid. The Final Fantasy stuff. Um, let's see, we got Fullmetal Alchemist. So Fullmetal Alchemist, I'm gonna do them in order. I'm gonna do Fullmetal Alchemist, then I'll do Concord Shambhala, and then I'll do Brotherhood. So like I normally don't do movies, but Concord Shambhala I felt like added so much to the story of the original Fullmetal Alchemist that I will go over it as a separate entry. So Fullmetal Alchemist was good. For me, this is S tier. Fullmetal Alchemist franchise is amazing. So even the original Fullmetal Alchemist was amazing. Some people say Brotherhood like overshadows it, and some people rank the original lower and I think it's because they're comparing it to Brotherhood. So they're being harsh on the original Fullmetal Alchemist, when in reality, the original Fullmetal Alchemist was was amazing. I think Brotherhood might be a little bit better, but Fullmetal Alchemist is still amazing. Like the original was still amazing. Even though it's a different storyline, but still a little darker than the newer Brotherhood, but still good. Very solid anime, very good entry. Like yeah, this is like a good introduction anime for a lot of people. Like this is the kind of anime that gets you hooked, kind of like Death Note, Code Geass, Fullmetal Alchemist. Like this came out during the golden age of anime. Like the early mid 2000s, you had a lot of these very famous anime that to this point are still classics that people watch, and Fullmetal Alchemist is one of those. I think Brotherhood kind of overshadowed it once it came out. But yeah, I highly recommend the original. I highly recommend Brotherhood. Like I'm gonna put both here. I might put Brotherhood a little higher. Fate Zero. I don't know if I put Fate Zero where I put it. I think I'll put it like this. I mean, they're all S tier, so it's kind of like normally Like I rarely even put one anime in S tier. Here I have like three already in S tier. So I guess anime that start with F, Fullmetal Alchemist and Fade Zero, they're just really good. So yeah, whether it's Brotherhood or the original Fullmetal Alchemist, they're both amazing. Like I just recommend to watch it. It's good characters, good plot, good music. Brothers from the original Fullmetal Alchemist, super famous piece of music. Um, yeah, they're just classics, really, that I would recommend for any anime fan to watch. I mean, I think Brotherhood is actually the highest ranked anime on my anime list to this day. Like Attack on Titan, season 3 part 2 is close, like second place, but no, like Full Alchemist Brotherhood is like number 1 in rank. And in terms of popularity on my anime list, I think it's still like number 2 or number 3. So like it's not. This is a very common opinion that this is an amazing anime, both in popularity and in actual rank. So yeah, like I don't know what else to say. Like just good anime in general. Just recommend to watch it. A bit dark. The original is a little darker. Brotherhood ends up a little happier. Has a bit of a happier ending, I would say. And there's just a lot of depth to the story, really. Not cliche, not generic. It's a unique anime. Then we have Concord Shambhala. I mean, it's just a movie, so I don't know if I should give it S tier. Yeah, so I don't know if I should give it S tier because it is just a movie, but I did enjoy Conqueror Shambhala. So Conqueror Shambhala is just a sequel. Is like it leaves where the original Full Metal Alchemist left off, and I thought it was really good. It just adds to the story. It kind of gives a good conclusion to the original Full Metal Alchemist. So that's really all it is. It's just think of it as an extension of the original Full Metal Alchemist. So Conqueror Shambhala is a pretty good movie. I don't generally say that about anime movies based off of other long running anime because they're generally filler movies. Like a lot of these movies are filler. Like any Naruto, Dragon Ball Z, or One Piece movie, Bleach, any of those, they're generally just like they're just going to be very cliche, very they don't even follow the canon. They're just kind of filler. That's all they are. Most of them are like C tier. Conquer Shambhala is like one of those exceptions where this is an actual decent movie. Like this is good. Just think of it as an extension of the original Fullmetal Alchemist. Fumetsu no Nonato no E. So I just finished watching this, like literally this season, and it's a really good anime. Like seriously, I think A tier. I don't know if it. I mean, kind of picky now. Almost nothing reaches into S tier these days. But this is a very profound anime. Once again, kind of dark. Like I don't know what it is, but a lot of my top ranked animes tend to be a little more on the dark side, a little more depressing. I think it's because they just seem more realistic. I think that's why they're not cheesy and cringe. Um, so Fumetsu no Nata, yeah. So this was really good. I think it's the English title is To Your Eternity. But anyway, the main character is really interesting. He's basically immortal, can't die, and he just keeps meeting people. And anyway, I won't spoil it, but it's kind of depressing. Um, so like yeah, he gets stronger and he just meets people and grows as a character over time. So just a very interesting concept, very unique anime. So I think maybe it's higher than Erase now. I think I'll give it like really high A tier, not quite S tier, but I think really high A tier. So this anime just came out, like just finished watching it like a week or two ago. So this was a really good one. So yeah, that's it. That ends all anime that start with an E or an F. So stay tuned for more of these.